The International Criminal Court (ICC) was established in 2002 to address the grave crimes of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. It was envisaged as a beacon of hope for global justice, a court that would hold accountable those who commit atrocities when national courts fail to do so. However, the court's reliance on financial aid, particularly from the United States, has complicated its role and weakened its standing in the eyes of the world. For instance, under President George Bush, the US withdrew its support for ICC, fearing that it could be used to target American citizens. This withdrawal marked a turning point, creating a climate of distrust between the US and ICC. The US, recognized for its influential role in global affairs, found its own way to reconcile with the ICC. While funding was restored, it often came with conditions attached. This reliance on US funds has created a precarious situation for the International Criminal Court (ICC). Another remarkable example was when the ICC announced plans to investigate alleged war crimes by US personnel in Afghanistan. The reaction from Washington was swift and severe. Trump administration at the time immediately imposed sanctions on ICC officials and cut off support, framing the actions as a defense of national sovereignty.
As far as America is concerned, the ICC has no jurisdiction, no legitimacy, and no authority. The ICC claims near universal jurisdiction over the citizens of every country, violating all principles of justice, fairness, and due process.
This response sends a clear message. Any perceived threat to the US interests could jeopardize financial backing for the courts. This led to ICC reducing its spotlight on crime-based issues in the US and rather shine its light brighter to target African leaders who have committed crimes. It is clear that a court founded with a noble mission to be a beacon of justice on the global stage is gradually sinking deep because of rising distrust amongst many countries, mainly due to its perceived unfairness in the justice system. When an institution like the ICC relies heavily on funding from a single country, it risks being seen as a beholden to that nation's interest. Critics argue that the dependence has compromised the court's independence and impartiality, leading to questions about its legitimacy. The implications of these dynamics, the US and ICC relations, directly affects how people see the ICC. As it stands, the ICC on the mind of the ordinary person is just a Western institution influenced by powerful countries like the US. When financial aid is used as a tool for political leverage, it undoubtedly raises significant concerns about selective justice and fairness. This has contributed to a growing disinterest in the ICC's operations among various member states. Countries like Russia, China, South Africa, Burundi, and Gambia have officially not just expressed skepticism about the ICC's authority and impartiality, but have also taken a step further to withdraw or signaled their intention to do so. It will be recalled that when former Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir had access to the podium for an African Union summit in 2015 before his ICC's arrest in 2017 and subsequent hearing in 2021, he cited concerns over national sovereignty and the implications of complying with ICC's warrant as reason for Sudan's withdrawal. Many African countries have adopted a stance of non-cooperation with the ICC, especially considering the fact that the ICC now relies on member states to hand over indicted individuals or leaders they seek to arrest for questions on crimes against humanity or assist the court in its investigations against them. An example is when South Africa was tasked to hand over Omar al-Bashir when he was in South Africa and when Russian President Vladimir Putin visited Mongolia in September this year.
Now, of course, the matter of the ICC in the continent of Africa is no longer a matter of individual country. It's a matter of the AU as an organization, that many of the countries are signatories to the ICC. There is a background to this. In the eyes of the African leaders is that the ICC is biased. It takes decisions, a particular decision, some of them, which are not necessarily justified at the end on African leaders. For an example, African leaders who are discussing the issue. Warrant of arrest was issued for President Bashir. At that time, the negotiations to bring about peace in Darfur were at a very delicate stage, and Bashir was part of the stakeholders. And in the view of the AU was that you needed him at that moment just to clinch the deal, and thereafter you could then deal with it. That if at that point you arrested him, you would actually scupper the process. And the AU as an organization took it upon itself to talk to the ICC to say, could you withdraw the warrant? We are not saying he should not be arrested for this moment, because we think we need him now to help bring about peace. They ignored it. They did not even worry about it. And the AU was worried. This is the first case.
Both leaders in respective countries failed to comply with the orders of the ICC due to several reasons. Clearly, the current stance of International Criminal Court grossly undermines the court's ability to function effectively and achieve its mandates. International diplomat, consultant, and political analyst Farouk Al-Wahab does not hold back in expressing how the ICC has lost its credibility in the eyes of the African countries.
The ICC, dubbed the International Criminal Court, has lost not only its mandate, the core mandate, what it was assigned and what it was established and the purpose of it, but it has lost rather the credibility, the integrity which actually the people of the world, and for that matter Africans most especially, had in them. The hope is not there, the trust is not there, and there is no faith in them as far as the African governments and other respective continents, countries, not particularly the Asians, but some of the Eastern European countries have also no credibility, have no hope and integrity in the International Criminal Court. Reason being that the sources of their funding somehow direct their attention as to lean conveniently to the orders of their masters, and then also if one looks at the prosecutions and the people that have been sent to jail through the court systems of the International Court of Criminal Court, it had only been either the African leaders or it had only been some of the Balkan states, the Yugoslavia, breakaway republics, etc., and then some other countries, whereas it wasn't the case, and it had not been the case against Israel, against United States, against most of the European, or call it the first class nations as they will call it, advanced nations. One bomb, missiles, arsenals have thrown, killed innocent people, etc. by any of them, it is none of the above. But when it's an African country that does it, it becomes a very big issue. And for that matter, the credibility of the International Criminal Court is in question, is in suspicion, and that nobody believes their actions, inactions, as far as justice's delivery is concerned for the world.
As we consider the future of ICC, it is crucial to address these challenges head-on. The court must find ways to diversify its funding sources and reduce dependence on any single country. This will somewhat liberate ICC from external pressures and perhaps restore faith and regain its standing as a respected institution dedicated to upholding justice for all. But until that is done, the fact remains that countries that have once viewed ICC as a neutral arbiter now question whether it can act independently when its funding is tied to the interest of one nation, the US.